Okay, let's get this started. Morning, one line. Hope you're well today. Hope your week started off well. Oh dear. One day I'll actually brush my hair or something before I start streaming rather than just worrying about it after I've hit the start button. It's all good though. Okay. So today we are making some changes. So over the weekend, I met with Rambling Geek and Mojo. They are the two people that I've asked if they would like to kind of work a little bit on Liquid Sky and maybe pick up a little bit of development with it and kind of talk through planning, etc. We have oh, where does this go? Oh, that's an interesting one. Where does service default? I assume service defaults goes in here. Services to add service defaults. Oh, that's no, it's on the builder, isn't it? It's not available one for this. Add service defaults is only useful on web projects. That's an interesting challenge. iHost application builder. It should be that one. iHost builder. That should be there. What don't you like? Must be convertible to iHost application builder. Okay. So we can't put it on the services. That's an interesting. You can put it on the website, the APIs and stuff, but we can't put it on the services. I'll have to come up with a version of that for that. So what I've done, or what we've done rather, to make things easier, because you two, be nice. They're snuggled up together, and I don't think Loki likes what Taylor's doing. To make it easy to start, we've decided to use Aspire App Host. So we got App Host integrated, and it does give. And what I've just been doing is I've been going through and adding service defaults. As much as I'm against the link that it gives to Aspire, I see the benefit in what it does do. I'm not necessarily using the service discovery aspect, but the fact that it brings all these things together, the fact that it brings the open telemetry pieces, the fact that it brings the structured logging, etc., can really benefit debugging and management of the projects, especially when we have so many different APIs starting right now. So we are going to do that. Okay, so let me start that. Okay, so this is Aspire 9.2. This is the latest version. You can see where we have endpoints. What I've just done, you can have a nice graph of all the dependencies and the structure now. This is, again, the latest version of Aspire. Logs, we can see the logs for everything anyway. So, yeah, but we can also now go to structured, and the ones where there's structured logging included, we now have a cleaner view of. So we're able to break those down and get a little bit more information. Also traces, they have APIs. So if we want tenant management, we can go in here and, we can get in there. Which is useful. It's very useful. these are the service endpoints all starting up and registering themselves with console, which they don't now need to do. We could remove all that piece. There's no benefit in having those pieces in there because I'm not using console for service discovery. Initially, I had Ocelot involved, so console was being used to register these services so Ocelot could resolve them. Now I hard code all the endpoints, so there's no actual benefit. And then metrics, we can see requests, we can see open connections, etc. So this is proving, I've never had an issue with Aspire from the development side. My issue is how do you take this and make it a production piece? That's always been my issue, but that does not bother me for this. This helps with development, especially if you're running Visual Studio, because Visual Studio does not have the nice organization of consoles, etc., like Rider does. So there we go. So running .NET Aspire. We could probably put some names on these. Might help. So I'm going to do that. You saw that app host was there, and yeah. So let's see if we can put some cleaner names on these things. How do we do that? Add project, resource name, configure, launch profile name, attachments. Let's see if that works. How do we rename app host? Dot builder dot this configuration, that's fine. Let's find out. I want to name this Liquid Sky so we can see. Aspire. Host configuration. App host. Let's see if those two work. Let's see if that changes. That might error if those aren't reference names. So I don't want to go too far before we do it. Now, one of the difficulties with this is if I wanted to start the read-only mode, I can't start app host. There you go. See, no, yeah, it's which launch settings it's going to use. That's so that's, I think, the launch profile. So that is, if I go to application attachments there, if I go to here, it's that, which makes sense. Tests, Aspire properties, launch settings. Let's just remove HTTP. It's not even a thing. So by doing this, I do introduce a problem. I introduce a dependency on OTel, which means that when I do the deployment for the next version, I'm going to have an OTel reporting endpoint. I'm going to have to figure out how to configure that. I don't necessarily consider that a problem. More a more of an opportunity to just build better reporting and management. So I wasn't going to do this. I was going to hold off, but we do have some ideas for some features coming up in the next couple of weeks. I do want to get to the point of deployment. So once we have some pieces on the control tower side in place, we'll be able to. I forgot to do my stream posting, didn't I? I wonder how many people actually rely upon the stream posting in the Discords to know whether the stream started or not. Let's find out. Stream announcements. I should alternate that. It's not like it's the hardest thing in the world to do. I can solve that problem. There's got to be a way of putting a friendly label on these things. Putting user-friendly labels on Aspire resources for dashboard. Oh. Dashboard configuration. Front-end authentication. I'm not trying to enable this for us to log into. Like, if we figure it out, if as part of the deployment we figure out how to put the app host live on Kubernetes, I will do so. Because I can definitely see the benefit of having something like this running in Kubernetes. 100%. But I'm not going to panic about that. Ah, there we go. Dashboard. So is that a setting in there? Let's have a look. Dashboard. Liquid Sky. Once I get this next version released and hopefully we can get some people to test it and play with it. Obviously it has estimation in there. It has user assignment, etc. I'm hoping to start thinking about registering the real name for this project and getting the scary part, getting a marketing site set up. Oh, that don't work, does it? These aren't going to do live reloads either, so that was Aspire dashboard default. It's not that though, is it? The default is not Aspire. It's clearly that. So where's that configured? The dashboard connects to a resource service. Load and display resource information. The client is configured dashboard for. Oh. Probably should have read that part. Oh, standalone dashboard. So there is no name? Okay, so that's if we deploy the dashboard. Okay. All purple smoke. Thank you for the follow. Stop all. So we've got a bit to learn about Aspire. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. I was just trying to see if we could put some friendly names in there. Okay, but API, not running. API, not running. This project is going to go away. This project will stick around for a while, but it'll be a while before we get to that. Pipelines doesn't have an application. That has an API. This has an API. Not managed NuGet packages. Morning, Mars. How you doing? So I did resist this for a while. I did resist the whole Aspire thing. I still feel worried to some extent that I am adding in. Oh, helps if you put it on the correct side, doesn't it? There you go. I'm worried that I'm adding in dependencies that I really can't unwind, and then tie me to some Microsoft technologies that then I've got yet another thing. So it's like entity framework. Every time you add a library like that, or MongoDB, etc., every time you add a library like that, you have a dependency in your software that if they change the library, if they change the structure, if they, I've been particularly bitten by Mongo because Mongo is like 6 months behind on their EF Core library. That basically, if I update to the latest version of, sorry, my brain's a little bit over the place. If I update to the latest version of EF Core, then the Mongo stuff breaks because I've got to keep that on that. So where I have shared dependencies, I can't now use them on the latest version, so it causes all sorts of problems. Zons, good morning. Hope you are well. Plus support for .NET frameworks, yeah. So it's a challenge. Remove HTTP app host option. So taking a dependency on something like this is a little scary for me because it means that if there is a dependency, I've got a lot to unwind. I made the worst mistake anyone could ever make in software development. Oh, this is going to be good. You told a product manager it's just a bit of work. Hey, Bailey. But what do you consider the worst mistake? Let's go back here, app host. I pushed an update to my church app during Holy Week, right before Easter, to instead of join our demo church, I put join our demon church. Ow. Dear. I woke up this morning to it. Sorry, I've pulled a muscle in my side, so laughing like that was hurting. That's that's the owl. Yeah, okay. I mean, it hasn't cost any money, but you may end up in some memes at some point. That's the sort of stuff that appears in my Instagram feed and stuff. Join our demon church. That's awesome. Uh, so one of the benefits you do have with Aspire is you can set ordering and dependency on the actual project. So here I'm actually delaying, so I wait for the gateway and identity to be available, so there's no challenges with them being up. It's pretty useful. Labeling projects in Aspire host dashboard for readability. I'd be surprised if this isn't here. No, not that one. Really? That's assembly name on that one? Edit. Yeah, that'll work. Oh, that's because that's that. Let's have a look. That is quite the mistake. Honestly, I know it's a church website, etc., but that sort of stuff, I always take that as an excuse to say we need kind of to approve changes so that a set of eyes that is not a developer is on them. That's one of our common mistakes, right? We try and solve a problem, we try and solve it quickly for people, and we try and do good by them. Morning Delta, by the way. And what ends up happening is we rush or we do something when we're not concentrating. And, you know, yeah, a lot of people get a lot of benefit from software developers doing that. And it becomes, if you're building a business around that way of doing things, that becomes harmful because it becomes, there you go. So it does take Liquid Sky there. Okay. What are you working on Liquid Sky right now? So last week we got the get the estimates and stuff working. So we got Aspire host running over the weekend to aid in getting this started. In Visual Studio, this is an absolute nightmare to start because there's so many different projects that they all spawn different windows, and it becomes really difficult to chase any debugging. So we took the decision to put the thing in the app host. So I'm kind of cleaning that up right this second. What I'm doing is I'm preparing for releasing this to the latest version. So right now, Liquid Sky does exist here. This is locked off to most people, right? Because you have to be you have to be approved by me to get into it. So even if you sign up, you have to be approved. But over the weekend we did a bit of planning, and the first step of that planning, or the first step to move forward, is to get the application, this version of the application, updated to the latest version. So let's go to Chrome. So you can see it does look quite different. I'll take a second to load. So the next steps, apparently task estimations preparing, that was pretty much, let me make sure I moved all those over. Yeah. Provide estimation field on task edit, update task with estimate, include estimation on the view side, include estimation on requirement, show estimations for requirement. They're all done. Okay. So this one is completed. Get that on. So what we discussed, so Mojo is working on this with me, and Rambling Geek was hanging out with us while we were, he's going to do some stuff in this. The first step is to get this ready for release, right? So part of this, I'll come back to that comment in a second, Delta. Sorry. Brain. Wow. First part, get this ready for deployment. So getting this, we have a project for Mojo's been working on it for a couple of months. Rambling Geek is kind of getting some experience to the code base and having a look through, and he's going to help us as he's comfortable. Yeah, so the first part is to build out this prereqs project. So right now in Liquid Sky, there's a folder called scripts, and in there is Docker. I released my initial version, but creating it to actually be self-served by churches is a big process. I'm building all those in now. Gotcha. Get ready to deploy. Yep. Yeah, I guess something I learned fairly is you want a safety net that prevents errors. Yeah, you want an approval step. You want a staging environment. That's kind of what I'm working on, right? I'm working to get this. What I want to do is get this test environment, this testing environment available so that, this latest version provides better organization. It provides the ability to task things out in a different way. It provides the ability to estimate, and makes it much more useful. This estimation stuff is the initiative stuff isn't fully baked yet. It's starting to take shape. So the first part is to get this Docker piece into its own repository. So the prereqs are not a component of the Liquid Sky project. They're kind of, you check them out and build them separately. That means if you don't need them, you don't have them as part of the main project. So it cleans the main project up. So that's one of the things we're working on today. In the coming weeks, once we've got this version ready, so Mojo has some work to do in terms of getting the control tower pieces working. So we're going to have to figure out the deployment of control tower as well, and privately hosting that piece so that it's not accessible to everyone. But then once that's done, allowing people to log in, we have the ability to delete. Once that's there, we have the ability to delete a subscription, which means that if you log in, if you sign up, because once you sign up with the latest version, you have access to Liquid Sky. In the current version, you have to tell me you have access, right? So that's why it was always, if you were a subscriber to the stream, you could have access to it. Going forward, anyone will be able to sign up to it, being that it's hosted on a little box behind me, that's kind of dangerous. So if anyone logs in and is malicious, we have the ability to remove the subscription and delete the data, right? Removing the subscription will disconnect, but it will just divert you to a screen. I wish you could blame it on QA or PM. QA approved it, you can blame it on QA. Sometimes just that extra step of having it go somewhere else and review is enough to see it, but yeah. Hi IDK, how are you doing? I mean, blame's toxic. Blame's harmful. So anyway, let's stop that running for right now. So right now we're kind of doing the administration bits, I guess, Bentley. These are necessary bits ready to keep the application moving forward and not be just a conglomeration of randomness and just ideas. I'm new. What's the agenda? The agenda today? Oh, nice. One line's description of Liquid Sky is way better. So I'm working on building a project management and planning application. So this is Liquid Sky as it is. This application has been in development for around 18 months, where I am yeah, one line is good there. Thank you, one line. And this is the current version that's live, and we are actually using the version to plan the version. So yeah. What I'm working on today, though, is a bit of house cleaning and project setup so that I can move things around. We've, over the weekend, added app host and so I'm trying to think through what I'm doing. We've added the app host, so we've added Aspire. Aspire, if you don't know, is a Microsoft project for kind of, I think it's for improving development experience primarily. I think it's aimed at smoothing out the development and deployment experience, but I'm yet to see it smooth that part out very well. When it comes time for marketing, I'd like to help a bit if I can. Why am I not doing a stunning job of of selling this product? Basically, the product, the application. My brain is, if it's not obvious, my brain is very all over the place today. I'm struggling with my concentration more than I would usually. Basically, the application is one that I am building based upon my own experience of software management over the years. The process of taking requirements from product teams and delivering software is often a struggle in terms of meeting somewhere in the middle, where the technical requirements and the product requirements combine. It's oftentimes difficult to remove assumption from that piece. So what I'm trying to do here is break out the planning aspect of it so it doesn't become work to the developers until the developers are ready to take the work, and then they plan the work via tasking out the actual items they need based upon requirements that product has developed. Here's one we did. Add controller, introduce teams. So we've talked about the concept of adding teams, and these are the requirements for adding teams. That we should be able to administer them. They should change the sprints. When you create a task, you should assign a team, assigning tasks to sprints, filtering the backlog by team assignment, and when a task is dragged, it should assign. These are the requirements of what it means to introduce teams as a concept into the product. These could be individual stories in Jira, but they might not work very well together. However, they are individual requirements that are clear and can be discussed and focused on independently. Developers can then task these out as actual pieces of work. So it kind of bridges the epic and story together in concept. Hey, Glow Brumbler. There's no actual known commands in this stream because it's I use Streamlabs and I don't have a bot active all the time. So the way the stream works, if you're new to the stream, I am fully open to discussion. I'm fully open to debate on the concepts I'm presenting. I'm sharing what I do. The source code for this is not open source. The code editor, this is Rider. This is JetBrains Rider. But yeah, I do not mind if a stream does not work out as, 80% development and 20% chat. I'm okay if a stream works out as 90% chat and 10% development if people are getting something from that. I share this project so that I can share a realistic looking application, show the pitfalls, show the successes and the failures on the stream as much as I can. I develop a lot of this off stream as well. But I'm always open to that. And the Discord is linked in the cards below. You're more than welcome to join the Discord if you have further questions and you want to ask more pertinent questions about this. There are several members in the Discord that are very active and normally willing to help out. I'm still in the process of responding to Masterat. Thanks for the user relative the quick response to him. Yeah, I figured it was worth sharing. It's a challenge to go through that thought process of what does it mean to, changing a role at any point is scary. But yeah, okay. So let's get this committed. If there are, I do want to say this, if there are things that are of interest to you in the application, if there are pieces that you like to see more of, if there's technology that interests you, it would be good to know that. One of the things I don't do is I don't make video content about this stuff, but there's a whole lot of stuff to it. But that being said, I'm not unwilling to make any extra content, or I'm not unwilling to talk about concepts if they help other people grow. But that being said, I'm not saying I want to make the stream about your personal journey. Those sorts of things. If you want to ask questions, you're more than welcome to. But also, if you have deeper questions, there is a Discord that I'm happy to chat in. Clean namespaces. No, you know what? I'm not doing an explicit commit for that. It's not worth that effort. Add dependencies. Add wait fors. Oh. Change assembly name on app host to display. Good guy. Okay. So I'm not going to mess around with that too much, right? Let's push that branch. What we're going to do now is just review that quick, and I'm going to merge it. I know this isn't exactly a great practice. This is definitely not a great practice, what I'm about to do. But being that I am the only actual developer of Liquid Sky, there is no benefit. I mean, I do have Mojo and Rambling Geek attached, but I'm not going to hold up a PR for a review that is I have way more context of right now. Yeah. Once this gets to the point where the potential is for other people to work actively on it, right? You know, when we hit that point down the line of it's a product and other developers can and do work on it, that's when PR reviews and stuff come in, right? So, yeah, so you can see this is the service defaults that Aspire adds. Adds common .NET Aspire services discovery, resilience, health checks, and open telemetry. These are not necessarily Aspire concepts, which irks me a little bit, right? I've put this in an Aspire folder for now, but ultimately these are not Aspire concepts. These are general concepts that are included, and they've kind of structured out as part of the Aspire thing. But once we are comfortable with using these, we can actually enable these and have these defaults addressed by every single part of the service that I've added. Again, though, this only adds these pieces to the web components, which is a limitation right this second. So I'm going to have to figure out the services and stuff. App default endpoints for that, yeah. And then we've added the service defaults into the projects. Okay, so this is just service defaults that I added for the most part. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to merge this right this second, and then we'll take on this next piece. Unit test pass, that's good. Okay, let's merge that. So I don't like doing that. It seems wasteful if you're working on your own. It might be tempting to kind of work in a workflow of just committing to your main branch, right? Committing to your never having development, never having main, just committing to them. But I would recommend it. I would recommend always having branching. You don't need to put the rules on the PR, but at least it allows you to take a step to that typo point, right? Not trying to pick on you, zones. Having a review step may help you find those things. Again, if you're kind of focusing on getting it done, you can just you can still miss it. I'm not saying it's perfect, but having that step will help you, and it's good practice. Especially if you don't work in a team right now, but you want to. Practicing that flow of creating a branch, checking the PR, merging the code, squashing the commits, etc. Those sorts of things are useful just to keep doing all the time, because then they become part of your workflow. If you're just committing to a branch all the time, it can sometimes just become, or you're committing to your main. That's not the way it works in the real world. Okay, so we're going to tackle this scripts thing now. So this might not be the most glamorous piece of the software, but it does get us lined up. Once we've got the deployment working, I did start saying this. Teams is a concept we're going to add in. Teams extends the system in so much as then we can kind of have per team review, per team sprint, etc. Tasks could then be filtered in here. We've got the concept of a planning view task planning phase coming where we've tasked that out a little bit. And the goal of that is to take, so we talked about this. The downside to large application. So if you have not seen it before, this is the overall view of one of the screens is fairly blank. There's a lot of fairly blank screens. A second, we have this. Initiatives in the current version is empty. These are relatively empty, and I think, yeah, task dashboard. Dashboards, I'm not going to panic about. Ultimately, they can be dealt with separately. In the new version, that looks like this. So we've got the dashboard. Again, the dashboard doesn't have anything useful. These are not real. These are just placeholders. But then we have the planning screen and the initiatives. Rambling Geek raised a good point that initiatives come before planning, so we probably should put initiatives up above. Yeah. On the task side, we still have the dashboard. It doesn't do anything, but then we have the backlog screen and then the sprint screen. So, yeah. And that's what that screen looks like now. So, current, new. We release those before we release this as an actual thing. There'll be dashboards, there'll be panels here showing progress, there'll be, you know, number of items outstanding, number of items to be planned, etc. There'll be all sorts more information here before we release this, because it's useful. Same for planning, right? Planning dashboard, these sorts of panels, you know, completed this month, yeah, but due this week, etc. In progress, total planning items, yeah, these are useful metrics. It's just not right now. Yeah. In QA is a good one. Well, we've still got to talk about what that means, but you are right. You are 100% correct. Teams are the first step towards that concept, but they don't check that box. Yeah. So we've talked about teams and task planning phase. So basically, after discussion, Apex, good morning, and MRXA, what's 2 + 2? Well, I'll leave that answer down to yourself. When we talked about it, doing the tasking from within here doesn't actually have any value. It's useful for me from a displays perspective, but this step here is unnecessary. This display is correct. Displaying these is fine, but this button here does not need to be in this screen. We are going to move that to a new screen in tasking that will be focused on here's what you've got to plan and here's where you are with it, right? So we can move through the cycle and help developers focus on planning when they need to. So that's that. So we'll remove this button and move it into the developer phase. So the goal there being that once the product manager is ready, they can sit down. What are your thoughts on massive changes in an initiative? Should the software allow for it? I think it depends on what that massive change is. Well, no, obviously a massive change is a massive change. What I mean is priorities change, requirements change. I think that what I want to do is focus on the fact that if you make that change, that's fine, but the software will let people know, and it will highlight the cost of doing so. So if you have an initiative and then you add a bunch of work to it, it will highlight the fact the initiative is now off track and at risk because stuff was added post, start of the initiative. A bad example will be changing from React to Vue. A good example will be changing the method you're doing something while still pushing features. Yeah, I mean, you've got to allow for certain amounts of churn in the process, right? You've got to allow for, we miscalculated that. What you're trying to do is cut down on those things, and that's why I'm focused on the planning aspect, so that you can, again, provide the tools necessary for them to think through the problem without it looking like work. The problem with products like Jira is the creation of stories looks like work. So you can't tell work to be done versus work to be planned very cleanly without using a load of statuses. And you can't bridge that gap very easily. So that's why I'm doing that. So planning items are not for developers. Trying to understand removing the add tabs. Planning items are not for developers. Planning items are for product teams to plan the software, to plan their side of the software. Tasking is the act of planning the requirements out, or planning the work to achieve the requirements. So the goal would be to move this side, because the developers shouldn't have to come into this screen to do what they need to do. So the planning, and ultimately you could have different licensing where the developers don't actually see these screens, right? So the product team will sit down and set up the requirements. They will then say, this is ready for planning, right? So they'll say, okay, it's ready for planning, right? The goal there would be that once that's done, in this screen, we'll have a new screen available that would be focused on planning that's necessary to be done, right? So planning that's ready. So the product manager would come along and say, okay, let's set up a planning meeting, and they sit down and they focus it. And the focus in this screen would be the way the developers look at it rather than the product team. So it'd be focused on, here's the requirement you're trying to meet. Now let's task it out and keep that workflow smoother. So yeah, the screen looks nice. Thank you. Developers are so often involved in planning, probably too much. It depends on when. Ramilgeek, good afternoon. Hope you're well. Product only makes 50% of my tickets. I tend to plan and task a bunch of the work. And this still, I mean, it doesn't support it in this version, but this would still support that, right? Where you could task out work independently. A task does not necessarily have to belong to a planning item. Planning means setting highest priority on all items. Hi, Phil Journal. Priority is something we haven't even got to yet, right? So we haven't got to even the concept of priority, what it means to have priority. Priority would be trickle down. So initiatives would take priority over, initiatives would have priority. Planning items could have priority. Requirements could have priority. So yeah. There's like 3 bins. Some companies put their stuff in: features, maintenance, and I forgot the third bin. Been doing stuff with my dad and Ethan this morning. Nice. Defects, maintenance, and customer value. I've given up on absolute priorities. Yeah. Defects, maintenance, and customer value. Yeah, I am still considering the idea that developers do need to create some stuff. Is it product that lays that down? Oftentimes product teams get tasked with putting stories in they don't understand because it's technical. What we might have to do is create some labeling or tags system that allows product to see the amount of work that the development team is doing that is not product planned. I think that's a better design in terms of visibility. It's like, okay, this amount of work is not product planned. So of a given sprint, this development team has 30% actual planned work and 60% of their work is actually stuff they need to do. Again, reporting visibility. I don't care that happens. I'm not trying to prevent that. I'm not trying to say it doesn't happen. I'm trying to say it's not planned work necessarily in the product aspect. It is necessary work from the team. So I think the better design there is to just make sure it's visible. If product has too much say in the tech tasks, they get put off. They can do, agree, but it's also where developers need to get into a world of not throwing the technical necessities at people and start putting the business realities at people and make sure that they can highlight the exact cost of not doing something so that it can be properly permitted. I've got this in a tech debt slide that I've yet to record a video for. I'm not sure how this maps to removing that button on the other page. I think the other page was useful with the button, but I'm feeling like I don't understand the goal of the planning items page. The planning items page is for the product team to plan out what they want, set the requirements in place, add attachments. If there's any discussions necessary, they can have discussions about them. But it's a refinement process, right? It's a go in there, gather what you need, set review dates so that you can come back to something and prepare it so that by the time it's ready for actual development teams to plan, they can do. Once they move it to ready for planning, it would appear in this screen in the development side, and it'd be that side would be focused on the developers. So they're gathering those tasks. The pop-up of the task dialog would then not have to be a pop-up. It could be an inline form. In the current version, yeah, they would have to be behaving like a product person. Whereas I think that's not the case. I think the development team sit down and go through that and task it out. I don't know if that's true. There's no dollars attached to tech debt. Yeah, there is. There is dollars attached to tech debt. If you know it's tech debt, you need to deal with it. So there's two types of tech debt. There's the tech debt you choose and the tech debt that happens. And that's what I'm saying. Developers need to learn the art of right, but we need to learn how to discuss it in business reasons, right? And yeah, sometimes you're gonna have to swallow. Oh, we did this quickly because you asked for this feature, right? So we did it really quickly so we could meet the deadline. But we need to do this. Otherwise, this is a problem for this feature, and this will cause issues on this feature, and we're unable to achieve this feature because of this tech debt. We need to clear this first. And again, to my point the other day of developers need to take back the professionalism. We need to be professional. We cannot be, why it's all broken, it's all difficult. You can't do it. You know, we need to learn how to speak to the business the way the business speaks. And part of this is to allow us to bridge that gap when necessary, but keep away from that gap when we don't need to, so we can focus on the technical aspects in the tasking without doing that, but also translate to that business layer. Potato, hello, how are you doing? That's one of the key focuses I'm trying to achieve with this is that bridge when necessary and highlight need. But there is 100% dollars attached to every piece of technical debt in a professional code base. So yeah. Okay, so we are going to do this. to do our new window. Doing good. Semi lunch break. How about you? What are you doing right now? Right now, we are kind of moving towards cleaning up Liquid Sky, the project management platform we've been working on. We recently got estimation in on tasks, so developers are able to put estimates against their tasking and display that everywhere, which was a good milestone to hit. What we're discussing right now is the removal of this button from this side, so developers are not in this screen. That's the purpose. I really like the screen. I'd use it. Nice. So basically, what we're saying, Apex, is not that this necessarily layout's going away, but that the going to this screen, the version of this display would be focused for the developers to help do that tasking without pop-ups, etc. So it'd be more focused on the here's what you're actually working on, here's the requirement, and now let's task it out, right? So it would just be more of a flow for the developers to go through that process a little bit more smoothly than dialogue and assignments, etc. So yeah, it's not necessarily a complete departure. It's more of a let's give them the information they need in there. So yeah, I think my challenge is that sometimes what I'm working on is putting things into this type of screen. Well, again, the break from whatever other software we're using, right, is there's a distinct developer side and a product side. Again, I think tagging and labeling properly will help us show things. And that comes back to Doto asking about dashboards and stuff. I think a lot of that is allowing people to see where things are. And that's normally one of the big problems. The big problems is, people ask a lot of questions and hold you up because they don't know where things lie. And I want to just increase that visibility. Is it team-based and restricted? aka you want to see teams you joined, got invited to, or everyone sees everyone's things? Yes, it totally is Apex. I'm not debating that, and I think that's again uh, what I'm hoping will help here, because this bridges, right? I'm not saying developers would never see the screen. I'm just saying developers will only ever see this screen with product potentially, right? And senior devs will be looking at the screen before it's ready, or lead developers will be doing that. There is we are going to build in the concept of teams shortly. For product, it doesn't really matter yet. We don't have any filtering for team, but the idea would be that developers would be assigned tasks as a team, and then they'd work on those things as a team. So the tasks the developer team works on. So you could have 3 different teams tasking this out, and they'd all have their individual tasks, right? That would be useful for QA, DevOps, Dev, etc. People will naturally move towards what is the least resistance to add their work items. That's why we get tickets that are just titles and no description, which is why I'm building this the way I'm building this. Because the only good way of using the tool is to at least build out requirements, guiding them down that path, focusing on tell us what you need, why you need it, tell the story. Then the developers can focus on the actual technical pieces of that without, I mean, if you want to come in here and say, new planning item, need a button for printing widget reports. Assigned to, we'll assign that one to Canny. If you want to do that, you can certainly do that. um, Need a button for printing. That's going to move that right back up there. Where did I move that then? Oh yeah, it's up here. This is PrimeNG with Angular and a bit of Tailwind for layout, etc. Feedback: the orange and blue pieces should be maybe all aligned vertically versus right. Might be faster for a glance. I am not going down the path of getting myself into a. I want to find a UI UX expert that's really good at the design aspect to build a real makeup for this entire application. And if I have to pay some money for that, I will do, but I need to find someone, and then I will tackle those things, because I could drive myself crazy just labeling, just lining up things, right? It's just too much work. I can't. This project's too big. So again, to your point, right? Add button. Oh, need a button on screen to print widgets. If that's the requirement, right? That can't be worked on. You can't pick this up as a piece to work on. Developers have to review it, and developers have to task it. So developers have to ask questions. They can't just say, okay, here's the screen, do this, and verbally relay that. It's just not going to work. Some task has to be added. Yeah, if the developer wants to add a task, add a button on the screen to do the thing. Thing prints a widgets report. Assign to Jeffrey. Assign that. Right? Yeah, you can do it. You could go in here now and add a button on the screen. You know, 3. You could do that. I'm just making it a lot more work to do that and try and focus you. You mentioned removing the add task button. Yes, I want to remove the add task button so that planning item, again, I'm going to make it so that it's, now it wasn't, I actually didn't think anything particularly bad about this, but after talking through it over the weekend, so Rambling Geek, Mojo and I spent several hours on the weekend talking about some of this stuff. And as we were talking about it, we realized that having that button there merges the concerns, right? So it merges the teams. It merges product with development, and realistically, this button living there is harmful to the process. So moving that piece into the other side adds that extra layer of, okay, it's difficult. They can put a requirement in, they can move it to ready for planning. And now that would appear in that new screen, and you could go in here and task it out, etc. So that's that. The problem, the thing that this would do is just add a lot of overhead to just doing some. If you choose to do that as an organization, if you choose to put very little in and just stub it out, that's fine. But I think you're not really. It's much harder to do than it is in Jira, right? Jira, that planning item would have been, there you go, done. Now take it and work on it, and we'll just verbally discuss. To get to that point in Liquid Sky, devil's advocate, can I just fill everything into the requirements field and assign it to a person? No, because the task is the assigned piece of work. The requirement never goes beyond a requirement. By the way, how is sleeping working out now? Sleeping is working out better by the day. I'm doing much better. Thank you. How's the eye? Yeah. So again, the point is, this makes it way more difficult, and from a report, some of the reporting and the notification stuff that I want to put in this, there's a whole ton of work to come for notifications. There's, very granular and varied types of notification that I'm planning for this. That is the point of the application. The application being able to tell people what is happening in the application. So if people want to do lazy stuff like that, it's really not in their best interest to do it. And that's kind of where I'm trying to head, where I'm saying, okay, where did that one go? Did that go back to the end again? Need a button. Why'd you go down to the end? Whatever. Yet to figure out this entire application. This table is weird. The grid does not sort in. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to do this is fine. But if that is assigned to an initiative, if that is assigned and someone's watching that project, well, that's assigned to Canny as a project manager. Canny is the product manager here. Once we introduce teams, we'll be able to filter these by team potentially. But right now, Canny is the product manager. Jeffrey is the developer. This is assigned for product management, right? You have many product managers working in teams. So the product manager that this is working on this piece. Yeah. This is not development to be done. I mean, if you wanted to use this and never do it, because you don't get sprints, you don't get any of that in here. There's no boards here. Yeah, there's no boards here for the purpose of what I'm talking about here. Yeah. Only when you task do you get sprints, etc. So what I'm trying to do is focus people on the planning piece. And again, from a reporting perspective, let's say your CEO has got it set to say, if an item is added for Control Tower, I want to see it. Or in my daily email, I want to see which items were added for these by project. And they would get an email and say, these items were added. And one of them obviously need a button for printing widget reports. And that would be visible to somebody else, right? So the goal is to very much show over time the cost of doing some of this stuff, right? The visibility of, so many. I'm slowly following more. Yeah, we start with initiatives. Initiatives are the collection of planning items. So teams could be an initiative because there's many different planning items required for teams across the application. As it turns out, right now there's only one planning item required for adding teams, but it could be many initiatives. It could be many planning items across initiatives. AI as a general concept, introducing AI into the platform would be an initiative. It's a slow thing. These initiatives have start and end dates. They are not mandatory, right? We can set an end date, we can set a start date, we can set one or the other. The goal being that when you start adding planning items, it will highlight it'll highlight the estimation on that initiative so far. Over time, what we will do is take those estimations and calculate your average turnaround on them, right? So when we look at a planning item with an estimate, we can tell you, expected completion, or we can tell you at initiative, you're not going to hit your target because the planning, the development is going too slow. Over time, what I want to do then is be able to say retrospect on an initiative and show you the things that didn't work in that initiative. So you would be able to see, oh, the button one, which for some reason is now down there, and it will jump back up potentially. The button one, this took like, we put a 3 on it and it took, 2.5 weeks to do. So let the organization retrospect right through, right? Would that actually work though for productivity? I mean, for us, if we implement a feature that requires 4 to 5 button clicks, the PM pushes and changes and discuss it until we can reduce it to 2 to 3 clicks, even 1 to 2. Well, so some of that is, and again, one of the things, well, this does not slow anything down, right? Because it all that's going to happen is this task button goes away and the new screen appears. I'm still going to how handy this screen is for me to create work tickets. So you kind of like the ability. I'm not saying that the work. So if a planning item has been created, this style of screen is not going to necessarily go away, but the ability to add the tasks will become quicker. That's the focus. And it will be in the side of the software that is focused on the work, right? So this, we kind of debated, this is not tasks. This is kind of development or productivity or whatever it is. Yeah. So the goal is to actually create fewer clicks in that respect, by allowing them to say, right now, no. We've got to figure out what that means. It's the same as dependencies, right? Dependent planning items. We have the concept of dependent planning items. What does this mean, right? So yeah. Now, ultimately, I think that what happens is until these are completed, you wouldn't be able to move this to in progress or something. But that's a whole separate. We've got some workflow stuff to figure out. This screen plus clicking into a linked task to fill it out would be Sharon's case. Yeah. So, there's a lot to kind of figure out. From a data loading perspective, from a usability perspective, does this screen check the right boxes? Again, adding task. I'm not saying this button goes away totally. I'm saying this button goes away from here and becomes part of the it's not fair to say productivity, work items or whatever we call them, the development side of our the perspective, right? So this is planning, this is development, right? And development would see a screen that would be focused on those, showing those planning items with their requirements, but the requirements will be, here's a requirement, now task it, and kind of create maybe create a wizard flow. So, I can add a task, I can add a task, I can add a task, speeding that process up. And to your point, Apex, at that point, because it's all development focused, we probably would add the estimation there. So planning items could be a large list and work items would be a subset. Yeah. Yeah. So ultimately, I think I've shared this before, but I'll share it again. One of my visions for this is when you go in this screen, one of these cards will be progress. And when you click into it, it will show you a mini Kanban board of where all the work is. Right? So all these planning items, all these tasks, one of these cards would be progress. And you click on it and see a mini Kanban board of where all the tasks are at a card level. Right? And similarly, at the initiative level, do the same thing. So you'd see all the planning items and all the tasks of the planning items if you so show. That's one of my visions for that, is so you can, at any level, see where things lie. So planning items could be a large list. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So if I'm tasking out something for someone to do in the next few weeks, I would go to work items and generate the tickets, planning item plus task. Or do I go to planning item first and then over to work items to task it out? Product manager goes in here. Okay. My manager came to me and says, we need a feature for redaction of these PII areas, right? Just me as a dev lead. Are you playing the role? Are you going off and gathering any other requirements at that point? Is it just one thing, or do you know what that means, right? If it requires planning, if it requires a few pieces, there's a few requirements of that, right? And part of my problem is that sort of stuff is the problem, right? We need a feature for redaction of these PII areas. What does that mean, right? What we're not doing as developers is we're not digging in and we're not pushing back at the right point. And that means we are basically waterfall. We're winging it and calling it agile because we have a nice board to track it in. That's the problem. So if we were doing that the right way, right? Let's say we have PII. Well, actually, we might have this. We might go to initiatives and create PII redaction as an initiative. I'm going to start it on Monday. We expect to finish it late May, right? We have PII redaction. We go over here, we create a new planning item. And this is remove PII from customers report, right? PII should, I know that there's an irony there. I realize what I just wrote. PII should not be visible, right? Well, I'm saying doing it the right way, and we'll figure out where you would lie in this, right? And let's say the PM for this is Canny again, right? Because Canny's getting picked on today, and this is UI or something, right? And we'll review it come Friday because we need to get it ready for Monday, and this is going in the PII redaction initiative. So annoying. If you get that feature in your current environment, do you create a story? Assuming you're using Jira, you create a story for redaction of PII across these areas, and you have a list. You just have a list in there, and you just save that story, and then you start working on it. Or if you're using tasks in Jira, you go and task out, oh, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, right? What will happen is you will pick up that story. So epic for redaction, story per area, right? So you're doing all the product management part, right? So you'd still do it this way. You'd build this out. You build an initiative or even a planning item if it felt right to do it. You build an initiative. You build a so the requirement, remove PI from customers report, should not see when select Devins Dev. Hello. Unfortunately, there's no commands list in this stream. I don't have an active bot right this second. Too focused on other stuff. You after anything in particular? You're more than welcome to ask questions. You're more than welcome to interrupt if you need to. I'm happy to talk about stuff. Right now, what we're doing is we're going through a kind of a sample use case. This project is Project Liquid Sky, as it's codenamed. It is a project management and planning platform that I've been working on for for the last 18 months. Right now, we're going through a use case that Apex has kind of posed just to see if we align on how we would do this. When I select, don't include. I know that I'm just making stuff up as I go along here, but just trying to figure out the visuals. When I select the don't include PI button, it should still show on the report, but should be blurred out. Let's say we want to do that feature, right? So now in the final workflow of this, right, this button goes away, right? We plan out, we prep all our requirements. We get all those requirements laid out. We agree them. We talk to our boss. We say, okay, does this look right? Is this everything you want it to do? You agree this is good? Yeah. Okay. Now let's move it to ready for planning. At the point we move it to ready for planning, the goal will be that will. Don't know why it moves down there. It's irritating, but that will be then ready, and you'll be able to go into the planning screen and do this part, right, where you can now task it out, but now estimate as well. Right now, I don't provide the estimate in here, so we need to update settings or update configuration in DB, right? Create script for updating settings, include toggle for PII, include show PII as option. Whatever you're going to do, you're going to task that out, and you're going to, right now we're going to assign it to a person. This is going to go away, and you're going to make this a team, by the way. So now you're going to go through that point of tasking out that thing. So again, it's the review stage that's different, right? This kind of forces or should force the review if you're using it right. You create an initiative. You create planning items against the initiative. You then create requirements for each planning item to say, this is what you expect, right? This is what we expect to see. And again, this is that bridge, right? This is here's what I expect to see. This is the part that developers should push back on. Developers should ask questions about, should be clear about, should remove assumption, right? So you go through building out the requirements for this piece. You show it your boss. You say, hey, we're good with this. This makes sense. Yeah. Okay. We're comfortable with presenting this. Now, in a larger workflow, what you might do is you might, share that with SMEs. You might go through that process a few times. You might show it the lead developer and say, does this actually make sense? Could we show this to the development team? The architect might be involved. There might be technological requirements, etc., that are a little bit obscured by the requirements. Some diagrams might need to be attached, some discussions might need to be had, right? So you're gathering all that information to the point where now the development team can go off and task that work in a technical way. And that's the difference, right? We bridge that gap. Here's all the technical pieces for this actual requirement. And that's what it's doing, right? So Davins, hopefully that was quite a way to join the stream. I've been working on this. I work on this Tuesdays through Fridays on stream, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. This project is a labor of love at this point. It's quite a large project, a distributed system with lots of databases, lots of technology. The general format of the stream is, if you have questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, agree or disagree with what I'm doing, that's fine as well. I'm open to criticism as much as I am to praise. That sounds narcissistic, but never mind. Yeah, I'm happy to share what I do. This is not open source, but I am happy to share code snippets. I do, if there's pieces that might help others, I'm happy to build libraries out of what I've done. There are a few involved in this, like the Kafka library and stuff that I've built out to help aid development. So yeah, thank you. I know I sort of derailed it, but I understand a lot more now about your intended workflow. That's perfectly fine. I love sharing this stuff. I love talking about this stuff because sometimes talking about stuff is more productive than doing things, because you remove those assumptions, you remove those, like talking through something might make something click in my head, and I remove a concept, or I add a concept, or I validate a concept. That's also useful. Yeah. So Liquid Sky is built in .NET. I use Kafka, and the last couple of days we've recently added .NET Aspire as a dashboard to be able to highlight logging and whatnot and see all the moving parts. Right, the second, what I will be working on is moving some of the configuration components of the application out of the main repository into a prerequisites repository so that they are shareable between some of the moving parts. But any questions, thoughts, opinions, please feel free. So yeah, that should kind of highlight that. Again, we go over here to tasks. We say, okay, well, update configuration in DB. That is a task for that requirement. I don't know why this isn't showing. I think it's a data loading issue I have. But you can say that's a 2, and we're going to put that on testing sprint flow and save that. As of right now, I fully intend to never let you change an estimate during the sprint. Right? An estimate should be an estimate. An estimate should not be something you mess with. An estimate should be an estimation of the effort involved, and it can't be an estimate if you're allowed to change it. So from a review perspective, once you go into the sprint, once you start that work, the idea would be you cannot change the estimate. Right? If you move it out of the sprint, which you right now can't do, it would report that way. If you then complete it, and let's say you take an hour to finish this and you estimated a 2, and then you take another 2 and it took 3 days, it's gonna just allow you to reflect back on why did you think this was so little work compared to how much work. So again, a lot of work has to go into the reporting and analytics side of this application to make it truly useful. But we need the groundwork first, right? We need the pieces to work, and then we can add those in. But again, that's part of the design, right? The reason I built it this way is so that I can add those pieces in. I can do those calculations. I can do those analytics, right? Later on, when I'm ready, I can take, analytics out as a concept, pull this data in, and oh, you started work on this, you finished work on this. What's the time? Collect that data in a data store that is relevant for that, and produce that as a stream of data that other systems can then use. So that's why this design, not a monolith, which would severely hold me back. Okay, so what I'm taking right this second is I need to go into this folder. I need to take all of this and move this into another repo. It shouldn't be that difficult, he says. Open. So, but yeah, if there's anything I can show anyone, if you have, I've gone through a lot of discussion today as well. If it's interesting to you, I will happily work on this. Okay, so this, what I'm trying to do right this second is I am trying to figure out a folder. So I've got a prereqs repo that is made for this. I think this is containers rather than Docker. Open in Explorer. I think this is everything in here. Let's move that to that level. This doesn't matter anymore. Kafka, Mongo, SQL Server, Redis, RabbitMQ, Papercut. Yeah, those are fine. We'll merge Mojo's version of this in later. So the concept here, this is a startup script that is used for getting these running. It's just a wrapper around Docker Compose, just to make sure that I can like bring up and down certain pieces without actually messing around, and then it just calls the Docker Compose in each of these folders. Also, I think in the case of where is it? Console, there's a PostScript that runs that uses the snapshot stored in here. This is a console snapshot for the key value store, and basically that allows it to deploy that config. Configs console.json. That's to make sure that name is consistent, I think. That should be all that we need for that piece. Git status, git add, and git commit. Is that containers? Is it Docker? I think it's just Docker. Containers sounds pretentious when it's just Docker. But we can also Mojo has created a Bash version of this script. It works. I think it works a little bit better on Mac. You don't always have PowerShell installed on the Mac, so initial commit of current Docker. Git status, git really? There you go. Okay. I can't help it. I always so again, these are not public repos, but they are. There you go. So that's that. Okay, so we've got that in there. That's the prereqs. So as part of this now, let's stop running this. So what's going to change over the next couple of weeks, I suppose, is like I said, this current version, this is the version that's deployed. But right now, unless you're a subscriber to the stream, I don't give you access to this. When we put the newest version live, you'll be able to sign up for it. And the newest version will contain a lot of the features we've been working on. So for comparison, prepare for next release, this is all the stuff that's been worked on in the last couple of months. Fixing things, moving things around, changing styling, updating to Angular 19 from Angular 17, obviously changing the style and the color and the layout. There's still a lot more to do. I'm looking for feedback, so getting the latest version out there will help, hopefully, inspire some of you to try it out. Now, the risk I have with that, if you're watching this stream, the likelihood is you are a developer, right? And you're developer focused. By presenting you a tool that is made for product management or product management and planning, your interpretation of what that should do and how it should do it is going to be skewed in a different way. So what I'm trying to figure out along the way is, how do I ask the right questions of you? How do I ask people to use it? What am I expecting from that feedback? I've got to kind of temper those expectations, but also lead you into the questions I want answering rather than just general feedback, right? Is it going to be available on phone or mobile view? Will not be supported in this version. No, there will be no mobile view supported. I think there's a discussion to be had there, and I would love to have that discussion as to the usability and usefulness of this in a mobile view. I think I said this on the stream the other day. I read someone in LinkedIn the other day saying, if you believe your app does not need to support mobile, you've already failed. But that's the question. I'm like, what is the use case for a mobile user in this world? I think there is a mobile perspective, but I do not think you would be doing the planning, requirements gathering, etc. off a mobile device. Tablet, I can see the slightly smaller version. Tablet, absolutely, because you could be sitting down with someone and talking about things and gathering some requirements as you go on a tablet potentially, but on a phone, I'd love to understand that actual use case. At this point, though, I'm not. Even as an experienced developer, I would say this project is way bigger than I will ever achieve as a solo dev. Just off the top of my head, just knowing the pieces I need to do. If I have to achieve a lot of the things just to make it usable, I am years away from finishing this, and that's not feasible in terms of time. That being said, I cannot afford the brain power or time to bring on other developers in force, right? I can't say, hey, let's work on this, let's get this knocked out, because I would lose control of a lot of the decisions too quickly. Because I can't, the irony is, I can't plan that fast, right? So, yeah, so it's going to be kind of a gradual move forward. And the reason I'm saying that is because the UI, the UX, it needs a lot of work. Even in this version, it needs a lot of work. It needs actual focus on usability. It needs focus on all those pieces. So, yeah. Do you feel a mobile version Potato would be useful there? That's not the first time I've been asked that recently either. I've been asked that a couple of times recently about mobile, and I'm curious as to, is there a reason why, you ask? Can you subcontract out bits at a time? Um, I could. Well, right now this doesn't make me any money, right? This is all just, personal development. I earn well, but I do not earn enough to pay people to do that, and I need to be focused on the quality of what's happening as well. There's a lot of pieces that I need to get to that are major components behind the scenes. Some work could go on the front end, but I'd also have to be reviewing that at the same time. So, yeah, it's difficult. Um, um, as well. Once you've developed so much, I mean, for a side project, this started in October of 2023, right? So I've got about 18 months in here, just shy of 18 months. For a side project, this is massive. And it's the longest thing I've ever dedicated any amount of time to in my personal life. I think it would be useful, yes. We use it rarely to approve, disapprove, further discuss things. Like if a dev comments on, hey, XYZ is mentioned in the task, but any details in it, and the PM might know the answer and push report. Like, hey, forgot to add, but the call has to be read, yes. I'll just check. Okay, yeah. That view I fully see. Yeah, Potato. I think that's a yeah. I think it would be a very cut down view. I think we would prevent certain features. It's like GitHub. GitHub Mobile doesn't support everything, right? But it does support at least review and whatnot. Yeah, absolutely massive. Yeah, this project is my goal was to share a dream, a design I was trying to figure out with a concept. and share that journey. If this doesn't become a product, if this stops being a thing, like I figure, there's no value in it. There's no market for it. This entire thing gets open sourced. And primarily the reason right now is you do not want to even tackle 94 Visual Studio projects plus a client app plus, yeah, there's just way too much to go. Okay, so what we need to do here now, we need to go into this branch, chore, remove configuration, Docker. Remove Docker prereqs. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts this. Now, some of these projects are actually going to go away soon and be replaced with other pieces. Teams is a project, so it will reduce a little bit, but there is a lot of moving parts here, right? So if you're not used to a project this size, to open source this is just not going to help, right? Tickets needs a lot of work. There is still the concept that I do want to get to of support ticketing as a workflow through. So collecting issues from the customers. I can dream big on this one, right? There's hooks into kind of user feedback where we can ask questions, like customers can post things, get reviews on, and then get brought into planning potentially and workflows there. So there's a lot of different things that I can dream up on this, but there's a lot of development. So yeah. What does projects mean in this case? You mean like modules? Yeah. So each module of the application, right? So this is these are all distributed system pieces, right? So is that what you mean? So the general concept is if it feels like it's a component of the system, it doesn't need to have a dependency on another piece of the system, it becomes a module in this application folder. And a module or a project that consists of an API and all services, plus the supporting code for database access, etc. So a lot of them rely upon SQL Server. So, these are SQL Server pieces. However, changes and notifications and pipelines, etc. These three, well, those two specifically, these have MongoDB in them, but the structure looks the same. But they have receivers. There's no API to these, so they just receive data from the system, do what they need to do, and publish data out. Receivers is just another name for consumers, just to reduce conflict with consumers from a service bus perspective. Okay, so remove Docker prereqs. So this folder now goes away. It's used by another process. That's the new one. That's the prereqs. That's fine. Delete. There we go. Okay. So now scripts is just SQL scripts. Yes. We can remove that. Remove Docker scripts. Move to Liquid Sky prereqs. Yeah. If anyone is ever interested and you want to ask more questions about the structure, why I do things, why I organize things, the stream might not always work for you. You're more than welcome to ask in Discord. If you are comfortable in voice chat in Discord, we do often go into there, and depending on the day or the discussion, you're more than welcome to join in and you ask specific questions. If it helps learning, I am always open to that. I think learning is, even if it's reflection on what I do differently to you, that's that's useful. So thank you. So yeah, you're more than welcome to join in there. At some point today, unfortunately today I have a lot of meetings during the day. So, but later on today, I will be in Discord. If you want to have set up schedules for chats, I'm always happy to do that. Thanks for the stream. I have to drop off, but I'll be streaming tonight. Apex, thank you very much. Thank you for the discussion. I'm glad it sorted some things out for you. I'm really hopeful because it's aligned. I do appreciate that. I really do like that. So thank you. Thanks for letting me not understand. Like that's the beauty of what we do, right? Helping do what we do. So awesome. Good. I'm good that I'm not that terrible at describing it. But if you are interested in game dev and more.NET, Apex is building his game in C# with Godot, and working on AI or intelligence from the game, pathfinding and whatnot. Lots of cool stuff there. Try to AI in the brain there. Yeah, with AI, what could go wrong? Have a great day, Apex. Take care. Thank you. Okay, so we've got our prereqs. Project Liquid Sky. One day I will reveal the real name of Project Liquid Sky. It is not its long-term name. I'm not going to put a product up called Liquid Sky. I will reveal the real name once I have found someone who can do a UI UX makeup and potentially product design. We will reveal it for its true name. Jay, how you doing? Been a while. How are things with you? How's your projects going? Okay. Oh, it's not letting you link. You can't link zones, so it doesn't show that. Things are okay. Just got back from Utah meeting with investors. Nice. Yeah. Product names are the best. Hi, Sully. How you doing? Oh, Zons, you must have had a period or something there. It decided it was link and made its asterisks. You don't have link privilege, I'm afraid. Global Rambler, I would wait until you're ready to sell subscriptions. Yeah. The goal would be very much build it up. Now, my initial goal was to get something ready for general release by June. I think what we'd be aiming for there is trying to get more people involved in it, get more testing done of it by June, get some of the features in there that will help tighten these up, and kind of put into place a more firm plan. But I need to find someone who can do UI UX without emptying my bank account. The best value I've seen so far would be about $5,000, and I'm not in a place to invest $5,000 in my own product at this point. So yes, I think getting some more concepts in there, getting some more of these pieces working will help make it a more sellable product. So yeah, okay, we have a few minutes left. There are a lot of UI UX who want to get products in the portfolio. Yeah, but it's finding someone who can work with me and going and asking someone to do it for very little, with the hope of providing that. So it's I have a general problem with going asking people to do things for free. Essentially, it doesn't feel comfortable. But yeah, 5K is yeah. I'd have to be really, really sure that there will be a market on the other side of it to invest 5K. And that's just the UI UX makeup and the product design. That's not doing that piece as well, which is going to take a long time. The more features I add as well, obviously the more challenging it is. No, we're not going to put ads. We're going to. Oh, I've only got. Twitch only gives you 3 snoozes every 2 days. Are you kidding, Twitch? I've got 1 snooze left, and I used 2 yesterday. Twitch. Can't get rid of those ads. Anyway, so today we tightened up the Aspire pieces. We got some structured logging pieces in there, which will help with development as we go forward, right? You can see some of these extra pieces already bearing fruit, right? We can see queries, we can see errors, etc., a little bit clearer. So there's definitely benefits to doing this. Traces around requests, awesome. That helps us a lot. And again, metrics, it's kind of self-explanatory why metrics would be useful, but we can also look to instrument the application a bit more as well. Oh no, iPads. Yeah. We also got the prereqs moved out, so we got that done. I'll get that merged today, and then we're in a place where tomorrow we will probably start working on preparing this for release. I think I have it in recent projects. Is it automation? No, it's not automation, is it? It's then it must be in here. So, just before the winter break, we got the Pulumi piece working. So the deployment of this application, the deployment right now is done to a little Kubernetes box behind me. A little Kubernetes box being a mini PC with an AMD processor in it that is doing a great job of running all this stuff. So what we need to do is add the extra pieces in that have been added since we last went live. We need the control tower piece in here. So one of the challenges is we have this control tower application. Control tower is the management backend for the product, right? So it's great to have all this, but managing subscriptions, tackling the pieces around that when it comes time to introduce payments and whatnot as a stuff, all those gateways and stuff will happen within here and event back into the main application. So we do not pollute the main application code with any of those concerns. What happens right now is when a subscription is created, it registers with Liquid Sky and says, you've got a subscription and now you can log into the application. If we delete that subscription in Control Tower, it removes your ability to use Liquid Sky because the subscription's gone. That's the way we're doing it right this second. So working on some of these pieces, and this is a piece that Mojo's been working on. And we will hopefully get more and more done as we get more confident with development and start moving this forward. So yeah, those little PCs are amazing. Yeah, I'm kind of tempted to get one of the Ryzen 9 HX370s, the AI ones. I have one in a little tablet PC I have, and it is amazing. It's on par with the CPU in this machine, so that would give me a lot of power. But yeah, so tomorrow we will do a little bit of Pulumi discussion and maybe some prep on the code there. Get some of these pieces working. Refresh my mind on some of this, update any libraries and get that running. The challenge with that is once I do it, I've got to back up the main app because I do not want this to get lost. And then kind of figure out making sure we can back that up routinely and get it moving. So, and then once that's done, hopefully in the next 2 weeks, we'll return to development and we'll start working on the teams and we'll start adding those extra pieces that really, and then improve that cycle of deployment so that those features are not months away, they are weeks away, and we deploy them in cycles so that people can test them sooner. And yeah, but anyway, that is going to be me for today. We have Anna. We have Fullbots. We read Fullbots yesterday. We're wrong. I think it's an Anna day. Anna building a writer's web platform. C#, .NET, Blazor. I've tried to be here. It's an exciting project. Potato, thank you. Again, if you're interested in joining the Discord, you're more than welcome to, and everyone is welcome. So let's go raid Anna. Anna is working on a variety of projects. Very talented .NET developer, very technically really sound, like a lot of framework code built in there. So really fascinating stream to hang out in. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me. Don't forget, if you like .NET content, One Lion is an amazing .NET developer. He streams Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays right now, and Fridays are community days, which are well worth checking out if you like discussion about this stuff. So that's great. Alan Sastev, and I will see you again tomorrow. Thank you all. Take care. See you later. Bye.